we're ready. Treasurer's report, Kevin, would you? With the honor.
Can we get a motion to approve the minutes from the November 14th and the December 3rd board meetings?
So moved.
Mrs. Betts?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mrs. France?
Yes.
Mrs. Sloughman?
Yes. Motion passes.
Can we get a motion to approve the treasurer's report for the month ending November 2019?
So moved.
Are there things you'd like to tell us?
I just wanted to point out that the spreadsheet that we review every month showing the balances, you can see that where we compare to the end of November in 2018, and we are about $1 million below in the general fund cash balance what we were this time last year. Also, the report shows the budget versus the actual. 42% of the year has passed, and we are where we want to be on the key items. The salaries 41%, benefits 40%, purchase services 38%. We want those to be 42 or below. And the state foundation is our main revenue that is consistent throughout the year, and so it is right at 42%. So, any question about any of the reports that we included with the agenda? All right, Mr. Carpenter,
Yes.
Mrs. France,
Yes.
Mrs. Sloughman,
Yes.
Mrs. Betts.
Yes. Motion passes.
Can I get a motion to approve the tax rates set by the Greene County Budget Commission at 4.72 mils for bond retirement to retire the principal and debt on our bond issue?
So moved.
Second.
Is there anything you want to comment on?
Just that we have to adjust the rates that the county commissioner sets about every 6 months. And it's the amount of millage that commission determines is necessary to yield in our district for that tax year according to property valuations, the amount of money we need to retire bonded debt. So that's what that is.
Any questions? Go ahead.
Mrs. France,
Yes.
Mrs. Sloughman,
Yes.
Mrs. Betts,
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter.
Yes.
Motion passes.
And then the last one that I have, I get a motion to approve within and out certificate for purchase order for Nancy Struble for additional preschool administrative support as listed there in the agenda.
So moved.
Second. Are there any comments you'd like to make? Kevin?
Just that this is one that we thought we had a purchase order for at the beginning of the school year and we didn't. So it was not a new item we're bringing to you or anything, just something that the auditor says we have to approve as a board.
Questions? Right, go ahead.
Mrs. Sloughman,
Yes.
Mrs. Betts,
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter,
Yes.
and Mrs. France.
Yes. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Correspondence, did anyone on the board receive correspondence? You'd like to share? Virginia? No? All right. Then we'll go on with open communication, but before we do that, Mrs. France would like to say something.
I'd like to make a statement to explain and finish what I was saying at the last board meeting before I was interrupted. I was trying to make a point to those people who think we can educate every child in the district for a very low cost. We have a responsibility to educate all children in our district to the very best of our ability. We accept each child who comes to us. We hire staff based upon children's needs. This is why we have so many aides, intervention specialists, therapists, and qualified and exceptional staff members. A large number of our staff members have master's degrees with specialties such as reading, gifted education, among others, and they continue their education during the summer and school year. This is why it hurts so much when we have to make any cuts in our educational program. Each one of us on the board is dedicated to providing an exceptional education to each child in the district. Personally have always made sure that each child is treated fairly and provided an equal education. And I would also like to address the comment that seems to come up at each board meeting. I know I missed 6 months of board meetings. At the end of April, I started a 12-day stay in the hospital. It was determined that I had a strep infection in my blood, and the infection attacked my spine, and I was unable to sit or stand without being in serious pain. I went on 6 weeks of antibiotics, IV and oral, when I came home. I started to improve, but in July, the infection returned with a vengeance. That led to 6 weeks IV antibiotic treatment and 8 more weeks of oral. I'm finally able to sit for a while, but I am unable to walk without the aid of a walker or wheelchair. I am trying to return to my board duties. The other board members have been very supportive in my recovery, and I really appreciate them for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. We're going to start off with Carol Hensley. Hensley.
I'm addressing the board tonight to bring attention to the fact that this school's special needs department, and specifically the director, is incompetent and fosters an environment with our family and many other special needs families in our school that is so adversarial and manipulative that it circumvents the federal obligation under IDEA with absolute disregard for our special needs students' welfare. More disturbing than that is the fact that Tanya is not acting alone. She is supported and assisted by you, Dr. Cozad, and the school attorney, Tabitha Justice, who you pay dearly with our tax dollars to accomplish your questionable objectives. We have requested of the school's administration multiple times the simple task of understanding and learning about our child's disabilities so an appropriate plan can be created for his education. During an IEP meeting, Tanya, Tabitha, and Hal Houseworth of Key Behavior all three stated that they cannot be expected to understand about every student's disability. It is ignorant to believe that you can create an individual education plan without understanding the phenotype of the individual's disability. It is ignorant to believe that, the school indeed has an obligation to know, and you refuse to acknowledge and accept any parent input. We parents know our children far better than you will ever know them. The school board is still contracting out to Key Behavior the task of evaluating, overseeing behavior intervention plans and hiring behavioral staff at an enormous price tag. They too are incompetent. I have reached out to you, Dr. Cozad, and I have found your responses uncaring and self-serving. You blew me off like I was just another squeaky wheel parent that had no consequence. Tanya convinces many special needs parents that she is providing the best accommodations possible, when instead she is in fact selling our children short. Many parents first experiencing the IEP process may not be equipped to advocate for the best accommodations for their special child yet, and are often taken advantage of, and their child is shortchanged. It took me years to figure out that I, as a parent, was being manipulated into accepting substandard services for my children. Tanya has shown me their true colors when she arranged to send my child to 2 special schools where he was physically abused and isolated in locked rooms. After removing him and showing her the pictures of the abuse, her response was, quote, "Please do not go after them. I have other students at the school," unquote. She did not care that other children may also be abused. She is a mandated reporter, and she violated the law by sweeping it under the rug. We need personnel that truly have the best interests of our special children in their heart. I cannot see Tanya, Hal, Tabitha, or Doug all of a sudden developing a genuine concern for our children. That is a trait that develops in our character and soul through our life experiences, our upbringing, our faith, and also some genetic component, which forms our values and morals. I believe in miracles, and I believe God can change people, but I do not believe people's values genuinely will change because someone makes that request. You cannot force someone to truly care about another human being that is not part of who they are. I, for one, will not stop
Cheryl, thank you for your comments, and we are listening. I have one question. Have you joined the parent group, advisory committee group
I've
for
actually
special
invited
ed?
to the board advisory committee group. I am on their website.
We will be in touch with you to let you know when the meetings are. I think it would be good for you to be part of that group.
I've had a kid in the
Thank
special
you.
needs department in this school for 35 years.
Thank you. Okay, Parker Wright.
So good evening, I'm Parker Wright and I serve in the Air Force at Wright Pat. However, I am not here in an official capacity. Instead, I'm here as a dad representing my son Will, who is a 7th grader at the middle school. I'm here to ask for your help in reviewing the selection process for the boys' 7th grade basketball team, where Will was subjected to criteria that none of the other students were due to his status as a military kid. Let me explain. On the last day of tryouts, one of the coaches asked Will if he would be moving next year. Will replied that he didn't know, but that he might be. That evening, Will was one of the last 3 cut. As the coaches delivered the news, they told him, "We know you're moving soon, and we wish you luck wherever you go." Now the coaches, the athletic director, and the superintendent have all said that Will's likely move next summer due to a military PCS had nothing to do with his being cut. They say they were only making sure that he was available for the full basketball season. But that's not what they asked him, or me. And they didn't ask the same question of any other kids. Clearly, Will moving was on their mind. Otherwise, why bring it up on multiple occasions on the day of cuts? When I met with Dr. Kozad, he said that I couldn't prove that Will was treated unfairly. But that's impossible to do because there are no mechanisms for accountability. There are no written guidelines for conducting tryouts or making selections. The score sheets aren't retained, the scores aren't tabulated, averaged, or reviewed. There's no way to see Will's scores relative to those selected. The athletic director and superintendent point to the use of 2 independent evaluators. However, they were not part of the final day of evaluations when Will was cut. The coaches have complete autonomy in deciding who makes the team, and there's no oversight process in place. The superintendent told me he relies on trust to ensure fairness in selection players. An undocumented process with no institutional oversight that gives complete autonomy to the coaches systematically disadvantages our military kids. I'm asking you for accountability because the administration refuses to admit any fault, has offered no solution to right or wrong, and debates the need for a transparent, documented process. Now let me be clear, I am not a dad who can't get over the fact that his son didn't make the team. I am here because it's my fault that he did. It's my fault that he's moved 6 times in 12 years. It's my fault that he's been in 5 schools in 8 years. My decision to serve forces Will to move every 2 years, and it denies him the opportunity to make roots in a community. So I'm here to ask for your help in making sure that my military service doesn't deny my son a fair shake at making the 8th grade basketball team. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention, and from what I understand, we have reached out to someone at the base to work with us on we're trying to make the contact to help us to be a little more understanding and aware of this. So
Yeah,
thank
so
you.
all I would say is we ask our kids if they make a mistake to admit it, to work to right the wrong, and to make sure they don't do it again. And I would just ask that you apply that same standard.
Len Rath?
Good evening. I'm making my monthly trip to the podium here, just to see where we are on the filling the position for the school board. I know it's difficult to operate, especially with the difficulties Mrs. France was having. So you only had 3 members on board to pull that workload. So I'm just wondering if you can respond to that. Let us know. And partly, I'm asking too because Mrs. Vance was appointed, I understand, to the GCC. And in that process, I was wondering if there's a similar process to appointing somebody or here. Thank you.
We're going to be discussing it. David, would you mind making that statement now
Sure.
instead of later on?
Sure.
I will as soon as I find it here. Oh, it's on here. Should a board vacancy occur, I'd like to recommend that we follow this process. Number one, we'd make an announcement by the district on the district website and a courtesy announcement on our social media. Number two, we would request that individuals who are interested in serving to submit a letter of request to the board office with their interests, their qualifications, and any other appropriate information within 10 days of the announcement being made of a vacancy. Number three, then at the following regular or special meeting, if necessary, the board would appoint the position to one of the candidates who has submitted their letter of request. So that's my recommendation, that the board follow
And
Uh,
at this point, there is not an opening.
uh,
Correct. At this point, there is not an opening available.
All right. Does that help answer your question? Okay, yeah.
Do you know when you anticipate one coming up?
We would anticipate one coming up, but it's not open at this point yet.
Why
Right.
haven't, why
Thank
didn't
you.
you follow the ORC vacancy? We were supposed to vote under applicants 60 days after.
Excuse me, we're going on with the meeting. Carlos.
Originally, I was not intending on speaking after speaking before you last week, but there was a social media stir that some were going to talk to the mental special ed department and within the district. And after that meeting, I actually got an opportunity to speak to several of you, many for quite a long time. That sometimes happens with me about this issue because I'm very passionate about it, as you can imagine. I also met recently with the recently formed Special Needs Parent Advisory Committee, of which I am a proud member. I do feel that there is some positive momentum in addressing the serious concerns of the parents of our most vulnerable children in the district, because in part of those conversations with me and with many others. However, in this day and age of everything getting so politicized, I don't want that to be the case with special ed. This isn't like a levy where there are some for it and some against it. Some that are for it prefer an income tax levy, some prefer a property tax levy. On subjects like that, the public square presents an opportunity for conversation, for and against the different options, and then people can make up their own minds. This issue of special ed isn't like that. It isn't 6 of one and half dozen of the other. With those that have said or will say about positive things regarding special ed in the district, while it makes me very happy that they haven't encountered some of the same problems that many of us have, their experiences don't erase, lessen, or even so much as mitigate the experiences of myself and many others. A rotten apple doesn't a rotten apple does ruin the bunch, but a good apple doesn't magically cure the rotten one. Gandhi once said, and I quote, "A society is measured by its treatment of its most vulnerable members," unquote. Our district should be measured the same way. It is the district's moral, ethical, and legal obligation to ensure that as many parents as humanly possible could give a glowing testimonial of our special ed department in the future, and until that is the case, it is incumbent on all parents to maintain the necessary pressure for that to happen, and sadly, for far too many of us, we are not anywhere near where we should be. Thank you.
Thank you for.
Thank you for your comments, and I'm glad to hear that you feel like we are making some movement, and I appreciate you sitting on the committee to help us to make some improvements and head in the right direction. Thank you. Diana Presnell.
Hi again. It's me. I actually wanted to bring to your attention a question that's been asked of my husband and I a couple of times now in the last week or two. And it really boils down to, why are you guys doing this? And contrary to what Mr. Stafford says, we're not from Allerton Hill, we aren't getting paid, we don't work for you. We are just a couple of people that have started researching the subject because no one else was. The information wasn't out there and people wanted it. So we started trying to fill that hole. Which is kind of why I came up today. Because, well, we don't mind doing it. It's taking a lot of our time, but, you know, we want to help the community in this way. But you guys, as a board, probably need to kind of jump into this century when it comes to the technology that you use to communicate. Information is instantaneous now. I mean, you guys saw how fast that Watercom thing spread. It's out and it goes, and there's no stopping it. And so the fact that you guys aren't utilizing the tools at your disposal, such as a website specifically allows for like a bulletin board. So, or a Facebook page where the comments are locked because you can lock them. That allows you to put, hey, we received this public comment, and here are the things that we are doing for that public comment. So unless it's confidential, that allows for transparency people want. Because they want to know what you're doing. They don't want to see you just taking notes. They want to be able to go, okay, I sent this in to this board member. Well, then that board member can then either put it as a comment on a Facebook page or on a bulletin board on their own personal, BOE website. And then underneath it, it'll be like, well, I brought this comment to Mr. Kozad on this date, and then Mr. Kozad talked to so-and-so on this date. And it kind of allows for a certain degree of you're doing something. Because when you guys take notes and then you go off and you do it, but nobody hears from you for months, like talking to the military about his issue with the basketball team. Those are the kinds of things that if you were to put them down, even if it's just a quick note, it would let everyone know because they want that information. I think progress book for you guys because parents now, they want progress book. They want to know what their kids are doing 24/7, all the time, what their grades are. And it's kind of the same thing. You guys, these technologies are out there, good or bad. I'm still kind of on the fence there, but they're there and this is how we use them. And it's kind of time, if you guys want to have that transparency and communication with the community that they really desire, that's the kind of thing that they want. The pictures that Allerton Hill's been posting on the Facebook page have been nice, but that's not really, I think, what people really wanted when they said communication. I think they really wanted a, hey, here's what we did today, and here's what we did tomorrow, and here's the problems we're working on, and here's, and put on, hey, we had a good comment. Somebody really loved the fact that we did this. That kind of thing should be seen too. So that was sort of where we were going with this one is we're using the technology because it's our generation. But we'd like to see maybe you guys use it more too.
Thank you for your comments, and we definitely will talk about doing something
Yeah,
in
a Facebook
addition
page
to
is
what we're
free,
doing now.
And it's something you guys put, you can lock the comments down so that you can communicate outward, but then people can only communicate with you, because that way it doesn't become a big discussion, but you can still put the information for people to see.
Thank you for your comments and ideas. Heidi Anderson.
This might be repetitive because evidently we're all talking to the same people. So I have my Facebook page still open. People are coming to me with concerns. They said, and I said, well, why don't you go out and talk to the board? And they're like, well, it doesn't do any good. And I'm like, but if you give them a chance. So if you guys don't know what the community is saying, it's not fair. You guys think you can't do your job if you don't know what's being said. So that's where I'm going to fill in there. And I have copies for all of you. So at the end, I'll give this to you. So number one, there needs to be a community question and answer time for citizens to have a back and forth with Dr. Kozad and Mr. Whiting regarding finances. We would really like to see that happen, and I know I already talked to Mr. Kozad about that. Open work sessions need to be happening. I believe it was said by Mr. Carpenter on Facebook that the board has been advised against these, but it has been mentioned over and over that needs to happen. So we would like, the community would like to see those happen. The research angel's doing a great job thoroughly explaining information to the community, but many want to know why the school district isn't doing it themselves, so she obviously just addressed that. Then board members need to be actively speaking to parents, teachers, school administrators, building principals regarding special education. There's definitely a lack of communication between the board and the superintendent regarding issues that need to be brought up and fixed. Everyone needs to be in the loop when we're all talking. Mrs. Betts reminds everyone that the school board meeting is not time or place to have a back and forth discussion, but there is no elaboration of when that time and place is appropriate. So if we could get some more information on that, that would be
You did bring us
Yes.
copies of that, and we will need to have some discussion within the board
Yes.
to see some of these things. Thank you very much, Heidi. We're going to, that was the last of the people signed in, so we're going to continue with reports to the board. Dr. Kozad, you're going to start?
Yep. Just want to take this opportunity here tonight is Mrs. Betts's last meeting as a board member. And so on behalf of the students, staff, rest of the Board of Education, parents, community, we really want to thank you for your 20 years of service to the students of this school district and the community. And just to go over some of the things that, again, this is a real, this is not obviously everything that she has done over the past 20 years, but here's some highlights. While she's been on the board since 2000, so overseeing or being a part of the board with the new with the new middle school and renovations throughout the district, supporting the Miami Valley Stadium project. Again, being a part of the great place that we are academically within the state and through the nation. She's been a huge part of that. Updating technology for all of our grades. We're 1-to-1, K-12. Also enhancing student opportunities for AP and College Plus courses. Adding STEM to K-12 in the school district, which is fairly unique. Also, she's been a part of the BSEF, which is the Education Foundation, part of Kids Voting, the Business Advisory Committee at the Greene County ESC, delegate to the OSBA, which is Ohio School Boards Association, legislative liaison to OSBA, student achievement liaison to OSBA, and also part of the Safe Routes to School Committee. And being a school board member is sometimes a very thankless job, and she does a fantastic job of listening to people and to working with Dr. St. Pierre previously, myself, Mr. Liming, and the rest of the staff. And bottom line, she is an advocate for our students, and she is a fine individual. I'm very proud to have worked with you, even though it was for a short time. So I'd like to present you with this certificate here on behalf of us for your exemplary leadership to our board and serving numerous times as the vice president and president. Really proud to know you, and thank you very much for all your time and service to our district.
I told myself I wasn't going to tear up, but first of all, I'm not going to say everything I was going to say because I can't right now. I just want to say thank you to the community for allowing me to do this. If I had not been elected each time and had the feeling that they felt that I was doing a good job and that I could continue, I wouldn't have been able to do these things. I did not do them alone. I worked with 2 different superintendents. I worked with 3 different treasurers, numerous number of principals, many band directors, lots of coaches, lots and lots of teachers. We did it all together, and we did it with the support of the community, and we did it with the support of the parents, and we did it with awesome kids. This is not a one person, one board show. Everybody works together, and that's the wonderful part of Bellbrook. As I went through my files and I brought them over to Kevin, I brought, 6 big bags for him to put in the bonfire because they're public records. They have to be disposed of correctly, so we have a bonfire. I reminisced about a lot of the accomplishments that you spoke of, and there are so many highs and lows. There are so many things, there are highlights, but there are 3 that stand out in my mind. And one is when we were doing all the building and we were getting everything ready, and Stephen Bell was our last one. to get finished, and they were running a little late, and we actually delayed the start of school. But it came to that weekend before the teachers were going to be allowed to get into their classrooms to set up, and we weren't ready yet. It wasn't clean. We didn't have the money nor the staff to do that. And several board members and Dr. St. Pierre and I spent the weekend. I washed desks and chairs. We hauled them into the classrooms. We carted all of their materials, their construction papers. We helped to get it set up because we knew the teachers, once they got into their classroom, they had enough to do to get ready. And I'll always remember looking down the hall and seeing Mike Froning come with this big machine to polish the floor. And I still don't know if he was taking the machine down the hall or if the machine was taking him, but it was quite a sight. Another highlight is graduation has always been special. To see the culmination, to see where kids are going to go, and to be able to shake the hands of my own 3 kids at graduation was special. I knew that Scott and Emily were getting off to a fantastic start because they had an excellent education, not only the academics, but they were well-rounded. They believed in themselves. They knew where they wanted to go, and they knew they could make it. But the one that touches my heart the most is when our special needs daughter walked across the stage. She had been in the system for 16 years, and she walked across the stage with a big smile, so proud to be graduating, and her classmates all stood and clapped for her. They encouraged her also. That was special. The third thing was in October of this year, we every year recognize the National Merit Scholars, and we always have a lot of them, and we're proud. And we introduce them, and we introduce their parents. We ask where they're going to be going to school and if they have any comments. And every single one of them this year expounded on thanking the district for the wonderful education they got. They talked about the teachers, the quality of teachers, the quality of the programs, and this came from them. It was not solicited, and that was special. And then it was followed by Emily Tisher Klein was there we were going to honor or showcase some of her students in their service learning project, and they had done a project. And she was so enthusiastic and so excited to share what her students were doing. And it's that kind of enthusiasm that makes our teachers so special and makes our district the district that we are. And I am proud to say that I've been part of this. I know the district will continue on. It will continue on without me. We have too many fine, wonderful people in place. And you will continue, but thank you for letting me be part of it. We'll continue here with Mrs. Sigmund is going to, our business manager is going to give us some updates on safety grants.
That's a tough act to follow. This is really boring. In comparison, so.
Jeanette, you've been around as long or longer than I have, so this is good.
36 years, so I've been through them all. So thank you, it's been a true pleasure working with you all these years. I'll figure out how to operate this mouse here. Hang on a minute. My presentation. It's only 358 slides. I hope Now, we are always looking for alternative sources of revenue beyond, I'm a principal for a lot of years. Always looking for ways to fund things beyond taxes and state funding and federal funding. So, grants or something and donations are really only 2 ways of bringing in additional money. We have the Bellbrook Sugarcreek Education Foundation, which some of you have been a part of, Liz especially, where we try to get money from the district in that way and provide it to our classrooms. And then the other way is grants. Unfortunately, the demographics of our district, along with our student successes, eliminates us from being able to get many grants. But we can't get safety grants every now and then, so I'm going to show you a little bit what we've done with the money we received for that. Just this past year, we received the Ohio Bureau of Workmen's Compensation School Safety and Security Grant. Now, we could get up to $40,000 with that grant, but there's a caveat, it's a 75-25 matching. So we don't just get $40,000, we have to spend $60,000 to get the 40. So we, Jeff Lewis, actually my predecessor, put this all together and got materials for a total of $53,174.90. And so then we received over $39,000, $39,881.18 in grant funding. There was two categories we could get supplies for, which is employee safety by providing equipment, limiting personal strain, and then items tied to our district safety plans. So we spent those monies. One of the things we got was 18 new cafeteria tables for the middle school. As you know, if you live in our community, that middle school cafeteria is used a lot. And those tables are going up and down constantly from community groups. Our district got things and then lunch there. So those get used big time. And that was $14,500 approximately. We got 3 new scrubbers. I think you were talking about Mike Froning. That was happy about that. And then a water extractor. And those are, the scrubbers are at the high school, middle school, and the SEC. And the water extractor is used at Stephen Bell. The other thing for personal safety, new overhead garage door opener in the maintenance department. That's really exciting. But that was $725, and that prevents a person having to lift a heavy door. And again, we're trying to prevent workman's comp claims with this kind of equipment. And then this was a real exciting one, actually. It really is. We got 8 Stop the Bleed bags, and we then trained every staff member in our district, custodians, bus drivers, secretaries, teachers, aides, administrators, all of us got trained on it. It was fabulous. Miami Valley Hospital provided the staff to give us this free training. We did that on opening day. We're all saying, oh my gosh, we're going to do Stop the Bleed training on the first day. We're all back in school. But it was really good, and we all learned life-saving things. Because should there be a horrible accident happen or of any type of catastrophic event where someone's bleeding, everyone in this building or district is trained on how to stop it, and that's how most people die in a horrible event, is because the medical personnel can't get to them and they bleed out. So we learned how to do that, and we have those kits everywhere. The other thing is we purchased additional security cameras at Bell Creek and the St. Clair Education Center. Several of those are outside so that we can see between the buildings, the playground areas, and so on. So there's 10 of those. And we got new doors at the high school, both the interior and exterior doors in that vestibule. They're steel doors and that separate the outside from the vestibule and the vestibule to the interior of the building. And so that's how we spent the approximately $53,000. We also just received word that we qualify for another big grant of $11,828, and that is mainly to be used for training of things, like active shooter training or to provide educational resources. We can also use it to buy supplies or equipment to implement safety plans and anything else related to training with school safety. Last year we received a grant similar to this, and what we had purchased with that, one of the big items was the netting that, as a picture of it there, goes across the orchestra pit in the high school. We did have a terrible accident there, if you all know. And so we were able to get that netting with that grant money there. Just a side note, not have to do grant, but have to do with safety. We just received word today for the final building. All our building safety plans, 86-page safety plans, have been updated, approved by the Ohio Homeland Security. Both police departments, both fire departments were involved in the development of these plans along with staff members and so on. And so they are in place and they will be good for the next 3 years. So we're glad that's done as well. We'll talk about that. So there's my exciting presentation.
Thank you. We're going to go on with the superintendent's report, new business.
Thanks again, Mrs. Sigmund. Ms. Sigmund has hit the ground running as our new manager of business, so thank you for all that you do. You're doing a fantastic job. Appreciate it. New business here, license, certificated staff employment resignation, leave of absence, and supplemental duty. So recommend acceptance of resignation from fourth grade teacher Cheryl Ellinger, effective at the end of the 2019-20 school year.
So moved.
Again, she's just done a fantastic job for us, and she will be missed at BCI.
Mrs. Betts?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mrs. France?
Yes, with regret.
Yeah.
Mrs. Sloughman?
Yes. Motion passes.
Recommend acceptance of resignation from Lisa Bakita as Power of the Pen, Golden Quill Advisor, and Middle School Academic Leader for the 2019-20 school year.
So moved.
Here a second.
Second.
Go ahead.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mrs. France?
Yes.
Mrs. Sloughman?
Yes.
Mrs. Betts?
Yes, motion passes.
Recommend approval of the following supplemental duty contracts for the 2019-20 school year. Ann Gall, Middle School Academic Leader, 37.5%.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. France?
Yes.
Mrs. Sloughman?
Yes.
Mrs. Betts?
Yes,
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
motion passes.
Recommend approval of the following supplemental duty volunteers for the 2019-20 school year. Richard Anderson with baseball, all the way down to Lauren Schaefer for district-wide music department.
So moved.
Second. We could not do what we do without the help of volunteers. Anyway.
Definitely.
Mrs. Sloughman?
Yes.
Mrs. Betts?
Yes,
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mrs. France?
Yes.
motion passes.
Recommend approval of the following substitute teachers for the remainder of the 2019-20 school year. Jennifer Bach and Cameron Bowman.
Second.
Again, we continue to want to find substitutes. It's extremely difficult to find substitute teachers, not only in this district, but throughout the state. There's just so many less teachers going into education for various reasons, and also because they've changed the retirement requirements that people have to now work longer and more years in order to retire. So those two bookends of people in the past we relied on for substitutes, that pool of people is so much less.
Mrs. Betts?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mrs. France?
Yes.
Mrs. Sloughman?
Yes, motion passes.
B, support staff employment resignation, leave of absence. Recommend approval of the following limited employment contract effective for the 2019-20 school year. George Fisher is bus driver, 2 hours a day, 189 days.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mrs. France?
Yes.
Mrs. Sloughman?
Yes.
Mrs. Betts?
Yes, motion passes.
Recommend approval of the following support staff substitutes for the remainder of the 2019-20 school year. Dina Harper and John Serra.
Your motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. France?
Yes.
Mrs. Sloughman?
Yes.
Mrs. Betts?
Yes,
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
motion passes.
Representative to the Greene County Career Center, recommend approval of resolution to appoint Mary France to the Greene County Career Center Joint Vocational School District Board of Education for a 3-year term of office to commence on January 1st, 2020 and expire on December 31st, 2022.
Your motion?
So moved.
Second. Mary, how many years have you helped this out?
I think it's about 20, I'm not sure.
And right now is an exciting time because of the building going on.
Yes.
We toured that, and it's gonna be fabulous.
Yes, we have a new building that will be open.
We have a new building for the Career Center, which will be open in the fall. And we're adding some programs in robotics, and we're also building a hangar out at the Greene County Airport to start airplane mechanics training. So we're branching out, trying to make sure that we can fill positions that are needed in the county. So it is a wonderful time to be with the Career Center, and those kids are so, that the kids that are there love the school, and the staff there loves the kids, and we're just very happy that we have a great administration there taking care of everyone.
Mrs. Sloughman?
Yes.
Mrs. Betts?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mrs. France?
Abstain. Motion passes.
D, donation, recommend acceptance of the following donation with gratitude. Mr. and Mrs. Robert Downey, $500 gift card to purchase food, snacks, paper products for Stephen Bell Literacy Day for students.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Betts?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mrs. France?
Yes.
Mrs. Sloughman?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Out-of-state travel, recommend approve the following out-of-state travel. Varsity softball team and coaches to Fort Walton, Florida, March 29th through the April 3rd, and spring break. For participation in tournament play, no cost to the district. And our high school JROTC to Charleston, South Carolina, February 11th to the 15th, 2020. For cadet in action, yearly field trip with educational, cultural activities such as Fort Sumner, USS Yorktown Museum, and Charleston Air Force Base. Cost of the district includes one sub-teacher for 2.5 days.
Any questions? So moved. Oh. Yeah, okay, second. Virginia, any comments or questions? This is something we do out almost every year, so, all right.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mrs. France?
Yes.
Mrs. Sloughman?
Yes.
Mrs. Betts?
Motion passes, yes, motion passes.
We have a couple items on hand carry. So, memorandum of understanding with SLAS, that's our classified union. So recommend approval of a memorandum of understanding between the Bellbrook Sugarcreek Board of Education and the Sugarcreek Local Association of Support Personnel for a 1-year extension of the current master agreement through June 30th, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Let me just, some highlights from that. First of all, thank you very much for SLAS and Ms. Quality back there working with administration. And so some of the main points of this is they'll have a 0% pay freeze. They'll have a pay freeze for next year. And so they join the teachers, administration, and non-union personnel that will be on a pay freeze next year and no steps. So again, that is part of our phase 2 reductions of about $1 million. And that is much appreciated. That is a huge sacrifice along with everybody else that is taking a pay freeze in the district. So essentially everybody in the school district, no one will be making more money this year than or next year than they are this year. So a huge thank you for that. And again, what that really does is it really saves programs and opportunities for our students and your students, because that money is $750,000 that they have taken a sacrifice to save. If that wasn't done, then there would be less opportunities and programs for our students. So just some of the other highlights, again, that is a 1-year contract extension. Also provides an opportunity for our SLAS leadership to speak at board meetings with new staff and an opening day. Also provides for continuous membership to the union, and also adds immediate family for the sick leave fund bank. So again, appreciate that sacrifice with our classified staff.
We need a motion. I do want to comment that, again, as I think I can speak for the board, we could not be more, we're thrilled and we're so appreciative to them, because once we have to start cutting programs, that's really tough. And this helps us for another year. So thank everybody. Okay, roll call.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Sloughman? Mrs. Betts?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Motion passes.
G, President Pro Tem, recommend approval to amend motion number 19-6 from January 10, 2019, to appoint the incumbent vice president to serve as President Pro Tem at the annual organizational meeting on January 9, 2020, until duly appointed by associate board members or replaced by a duly elected successor at the annual reorganizational meeting.
So moved.
Mrs. Sloughman?
Yes.
Mrs. Betts?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Abstain.
Mrs. France?
Yes. Motion passes.
We go into items of information, H, and Dr. Cozad.
So just some information here to share with the community. First of all, next Monday, and again, this went out on social media, and we also have sent to the papers for them to put it in the paper also. I haven't seen it in the paper yet, but we did provide it to them. But on December 16th, from 5 to 6:30 at Bellbrook Middle School, State of Ohio Representative Robert Cutt will be presenting on the topic, the future of K-12 school state funding in Ohio. So he has agreed to a 60-minute presentation followed by a 30-minute Q&A with the audience. He will explain the Cutt-Patterson K-12 school funding proposal and will also address how it could impact districts like Bellbrook Sugarcreek and Beaver Creek. This meeting is free and open to the public and is being coordinated through Representative Rick Perales, Beaver Creek City Schools, their Superintendent Paul Otten, and Bellbrook Sugarcreek Local Schools. We will be recording this. It will not be on Facebook Live. It's not going to be live, but it will be recorded and will be distributed at a later point in time for those that maybe can't make it to that meeting. And again, that's 5 to 6:30 at the middle school on the 16th on Monday. Some other things that kind of go along with state funding here. Maybe you've heard this week Ed Choice vouchers. Maybe you've heard that in the news. And so we're the only district in Greene County that is not impacted this year by Ed Choice. And essentially, what Ed Choice is it's a voucher for students. And so these vouchers provide money to students at underperforming schools who can use them to go to private schools. The concern here is that the school building eligibility for that voucher program is being used from the 2018-19 school year, the 2017-18 school year, and the 2013-14 school year. And so the way the way the law reads is the three most recent years that are eligible, so there was a safe harbor in there. That's why the years are in between there. The other piece is there dramatically more of these because beginning with the 2012-13 school year, buildings with a D or F for both the value-added component and the performance index component were Ed Choice. Since that time, the criteria has changed. So instead of meeting one of or both of those, you only have to meet one of those in order to be eligible. So Ohio went from having 120 Ed Choice eligibilities last year to over 1,200 this year. And so, for example, I'll just use, and again, 582 of those 1,200 received overall grades on last year's report card of an A, B, or C. So would you categorize somebody that's getting an A, B, or C as underperforming? And so what the huge piece of this is, for example, Beaver Creek gets, I think, about $2,900 from the state. If a student there wants to go to, for example, Carroll, Beaver Creek has to pay Carroll $6,000. So get $2,900, and don't quote me on that, but it's $2,900, it's around there. They get $2,900 from the state, they have to pay $6,000 to Carroll if a student goes to Carroll. So they're losing over $3,100 for every student that chooses to go there. And I wouldn't categorize Beaver Creek High School as an underperforming school. So there's the concern there, and vouchers for elementary schools are $46.50. So again, when we met with our Greene County, or when the Greene County superintendents met a couple weeks ago with Senator Lehner, and Rick Perales was not there today, he had a conflict with Senator Hackett. They really didn't have a solution for this. Their thoughts were it really was slipped in at the last minute in the conference committee in the budget bill, and they really were kind of throwing up their hands about that. But we're reaching out to them and having them try to change that, because again, in my opinion, this is another attack on public schools and another way that schools are getting impacted by funding. And so Beaver Creek is going to be losing, if those students go from Beaver Creek to Carroll, they're going to be losing millions of dollars, who then has to pay for those millions of dollars. Local taxpayers have to pay for those millions of dollars. And the private schools they don't get report cards. There's no accountability measures for the report cards. So even if they receive an overwhelming number or amount of public money, they are not accountable to the taxpayers. So a lot of concerns with that. Also wanted to, again, I think Ms. Anderson and a couple other folks spoke on us providing some updates on some things. So I want to give you an update, special ed update. So our special ed parent group met last week, and that was their second meeting. And so want to also let you know that the two parents that spoke at last board meeting, Mrs. Wilson and I met with those two folks privately and addressed their concerns and heard their concerns. And so here are some examples of what things are being worked on. So we're providing a feedback form after each IEP meeting, and seeing what concerns and thoughts are beyond that IEP meeting, and see if there's a way we can better address those concerns. A way for new parents of special ed students not feeling overwhelmed or not feeling informed. We're providing them Ann McGuire's contact information. She's a parent mentor. So we are going to provide that information to initial IEP meetings. So if that parent is feeling overwhelmed or has questions about what does this process look like, Ann McGuire can help them with that information. And she's not an employee of ours. She's a parent advocate. And so we're also working on with that group an informational packet from the parent group and a contact from that group, so that they can also ask further questions. Again, these are things that we are working on. Parents wanting more input at their IEP meetings. Again, the special ed parent committee is reworking on a parent questionnaire from that is given to the parents before the IEP meeting. If those concerns or those thoughts of the parents, they can be better addressed. So that group is working on that parent questionnaire to make sure that the concerns and questions that the parent group has, that those are questions on that parent questionnaire, so those can be better addressed. And also people that are spending a lot of time with the students, such as an aide, will be more welcome and will be at the IEP meeting. Just again, another piece of the puzzle there to make sure that those folks that have a lot of contact with that student are at that IEP meeting. Also want to let you know that I know it was 2 meetings ago, there was some discussion about inclusive practices and learning more about students with disability. So our next professional development day is on February 14th. During that day, all staff, we're going to have some in-service on inclusive practices, and we're bringing an outside individual from Wright State to be able to do that. We have a partnership with Wright State, so they're going to provide a person for us that will be able to talk with all of our staff about that, and then also providing more information to all of our staff on learning more about students with disabilities. So again, those are some of the things that are being said and being brought to us as concerns, and we're addressing those concerns. Is this the last step? No, this is not the last step. This is the first step. All right, we've got to start somewhere. So we're moving in that direction, but knowing that those concerns are being heard, we're working on them. Are we perfect? Are all these things perfect? No, they're not. But you got to start somewhere, and so we are working on those type of things. So I just wanted to provide an update on some of those concerns.
Thank you. We will be needing to go into an executive session for the purpose of considering changes for complaints against a public employee or official, and consider the discipline of a public employee or official pursuant of RC 121.22 GI or G1. No action will be taken after our executive session, but we will be taking a short break between the end of this meeting now and before our executive session.
And the reason for that break is we're going to have a small reception in the back there for Mrs. Betts. So you're more welcome to stay for that reception and thank her for her service, and thank you very much.
Second. Let's vote. Yes.
So I want to get in there before.